Good morning, everyone, and welcome once again to Morning Feature. The up and up look, and the craze for mohair, and the blaze of brilliance are only three of the ways in which fashion for fall is being described. And because I thought we needed some guidance in interpreting these fashion phenomena, I invited as our morning feature guest today a young woman who not only understands what these terms mean, but also appreciates their impact upon the field of merchandising. Her name is Mrs. Larry Walcoff, Judy Walcoff. Mrs. Walcoff, a native of New York, is a graduate in merchandising from the New York University School of Retailing. Now, Judy, what's all this about the up and up trend in fashions for fall?
Well, the up and up trend, Sue, refers to both the hemline and the waistline. The hemlines this year are much shorter than they were this past year. They're up to the kneecap and above. The other up and up trend is the waistline. Last year we had practically no waistline. It was the sack, the chemise, it might have been at our knees, but this year there's a definite waistline, and that is right under the bust.
Well, now, Judy, does this up and up trend have any exceptions? Are we going to be up in every way in fashion, or are there any garments which will look downward for a change?
Well, there are some exceptions, and I might add right here, Sue, that the fashions that we're talking about now are the fashions that are in the fall fashion shows in France, Paris, and Italy. They are not necessarily the things that we will see in volume this year in this country. We perhaps will see them next year. They will be around for the few who can afford to spend an awful lot of money on their clothes, as these will be originals in this country. But getting back to the exception, the House of Dior has lengthened its hemline instead of shortened it. It is now 15 inches from the floor, where most of the other houses are 20 inches from the floor. The other one exception is suit jackets. The new craze that France and Italy are trying to bring to this country is the walking suit. And this walking suit has a 3/4 length jacket, which comes down to approximately 5 or 6 inches from the hemline. And this is a suit with a long jacket, and when the jacket comes off, it reveals a blouse.
Yes, well, this is a pretty long jacket then, isn't it? That's somewhere around the knee,
Oh,
would it be?
no, since the hemlines are around the knee, it's a little bit above the knee.
A little above. I see. Well, there's an exception. Now, Judy, that term craze for mohair sounds rather like a Madison Avenue gimmick to sell mohair in fashion this year. How do you feel about that?
Well, we're not just trying to sell mohair. The new fabrics this year are all going to be hairy. There's going to be some nubbiness to them. Tweeds are going to be very big, but they won't be the small tweed, the soft tweed. It'll be a nubby fabric, and the mohair is a nubby fabric. And this is what we've got to look forward to.
Yes, this and other bulky fabrics, I suppose. Well, let's move on to this question of another perhaps bulky fabric. That would be brocades. Now, Judy, is the movement toward mohair, brocades, hairy tweeds, and other such materials a sign of very great transformations in the use of materials in styling?
Well, no, it's not really a great transformation. Brocades have been coming. They've been with us for a number of years, and it's just this year in the fall fashion show in Paris that brocades have really come out in their own burst. And the brocades are mostly your gold tints, very bright and vivid, also a heavy fabric.
Are these brocades, Judy, some of those materials that are made of nylon? Are there nylon brocades which are supposed to be very high fashion this year?
Well, I have a feeling that the brocades in fashion this year are going to be of a heavy texture, similar to the heaviness of your mohair and tweeds.
Yes, again, that emphasis on bulk. Now, Judy, concerning that blaze of brilliance that we mentioned earlier, does this, for you, sum up color trends in fashion?
Oh, definitely. Colors this year are going to be very bright and vivid, but we're not going to have true colors. We'll have reds and blues combined, oranges and reds combined. Colors that we would normally think of contrasting will be put together into a beautiful tweed, a beautiful print, and it's just going to be real vivid. Of course, though, we still will have our basic black. I don't
Yes.
think any woman would have a wardrobe without at least one basic black in it.
Always the black. What about the French, Judy? What are they doing color-wise?
Well, very vivid, brilliant colors.
Brilliant colors there also.
Yes, and mostly tweeds. As a matter of fact, Sue, I noticed in reading through the fashions of the times and in seeing the fashions in New York City that there's going to be a lot of flowering tweed. And this means that tweed, instead of being a plaid such as we normally think of it, or a stripe, it's going to be of flowers on
Yes.
this bulky tweed material.
So I suppose we can't think of tweed as a casual fabric anymore, can we?
Oh no, it's going to really be dressed up for the future.
Well, that's a very interesting trend, so maybe the blaze of brilliance is the right phrase, after all. Now, Judy, I keep wondering about something. I wonder if we in the United States are presently originating many fashion trends, or are we still very dependent upon the French for our inspiration?
I think, and maybe I'm sticking my neck out, but I think we are dependent on the French. We watch their fall fashion show, their spring fashion show very, very closely, and we see what they're doing. We in this country never really use the fashions that we see in the fall and spring fashion show of Paris. We modify them, and we have wonderful designers like Anne Fogarty, Adele Simpson, Hattie Carnegie, who do this modification work for us.
And I think, from what I've seen, that they do it extremely well in many instances.
Definitely.
Now, to get back to the more extreme stylist or designer for a moment, Yves Saint Laurent of the House of Dior, you think he's going to have his way about keeping those skirt lengths lower, or will he have to give in?
Well, the House of Dior has such a name that they can do just about anything they want to, and it will go over very, very well. First of all, the women who have the money to afford Dior Originals will buy Dior Originals just for the sake of having the label. There are many women in this country who will not give way to the short dresses, and at least they have the House of Dior to fall back on when they wear a skirt that's a little long.
Yes, perhaps Saint Laurent of the House of Dior counts upon some American support in this matter. Now, Judy, you were in New York for about a month this summer, I think. And what did you see in New York in fashion that you think will establish some trends in the United States?
Well, this year in the New York City department stores and specialty shops, we're not seeing much of the Empire or Empire, as either pronunciation is correct. We still see the sack, we see the oval blouse, the midi blouse, and the chemise. This is going to be with us for a while longer, and it will eventually give way to the Empire waistline.
Judy, you mentioned the oval blouse, did you? Well, what's the oval blouse?
No, I don't believe I did use that term.
I think I must have misunderstood. It was a kind of blouse. Maybe we'll think about that in a moment, but we'll move on now because we want to work in here just as much as we possibly can. We've summed up a few of the influences in fashion, you know, changes in material and also in colors. And now I wonder if I might ask you very, very candidly, if you think a great deal of this new use of color and the bulky textures is a device just to divert women from the use of last year's fashion, just to get them to buy things. What do you think about that?
I think all the men in this country, all the husbands and fathers who are paying the bills will agree with you wholeheartedly on that. I think maybe it is a device to get us to buy something new, but all women like something new in their wardrobe to give them just that little lift.
Now I remember what it was you said. You said the over blouse.
Oh, yes.
It was the over blouse, and I misunderstood.
The blouse that comes over the skirt
That's
and
it.
goes down and hugs around the hips.
Yes, and from what you have seen, that's still going to be very big, as we say, in fashion.
Yes, fashion changes are really never revolutionary. They always change in an evolutionary manner. And the over blouse, the sack, is going to go out slowly, and the empire is going to come in slowly. And if many people have been very conscious of fashions, they would have seen this empire look coming.
Yes, now that is a question that I had reserved for further along in this interview, Judy, but how can you see these things coming? I think most of us are pretty unconscious of the changes, and we think they're more radical than they are.
No, they're not. Dresses have been getting shorter for the past 2 years now. maybe even a little bit longer. Bolero jackets have been in fashion for quite a while.
That's true.
The bolero jacket is the start of the empire because it breaks just under the bust line. In addition, we've also had the new sack that broke from under the bust line and just hung straight.
Yes.
It may have been a full skirt where the true empire is a sheath skirt.
That's quite true. So if one studies carefully, one can see the trends developing, so they're not so inconsistent, I guess, after all. Now, Judy, may I ask you, from your experience in merchandising and the study of feminine psychology in buying clothes, do you think a woman says, as I've heard many say, this looks awful, but I'm going to wear it? Do you think that's the psychology of women in buying clothes?
I don't know if it's a psychology of women, but I'm sure we all do it. When the chemise came out, many women said, this looks, as you said, awful, but I'll wear it. When the colored hose came out, women did the same thing. And as a matter of fact, I might add, I disliked the colored hose when it came out, and now I have at least a dozen different colors. We do this because we want to be in fashion.
Yes, and we will do this regardless.
Oh,
even
yes.
if the color is horrible and the style is deliriously bad, we still do it.
Not all of us.
Not all of us. Well, I'm glad to hear that. I think some of us are holding out, in a sense, on chemises still, but that's another point. I would like to ask you, Judy, do you think it's possible for a woman to ignore the lure of the color and the material and the new gimmicks and go into a shop and select a coat foremost for its workmanship and its detail? How can you do that with some objectivity, let us say?
Well, most women will go in and buy according to fashion, to what fashion fits into the price line that they can afford to pay. There are some people, though, who feel that workmanship means an awful lot, and they'll pick up maybe 2 garments, and if they stop to compare them, they'd be able to see which garment is the better made. And I think you can do this by looking at the size of the hemline, the size of the inside seams, the bindings, and any woman who can sew should know this detail and know what to look for.
Yes, that should help particularly, I would think. But it seems to me sometimes that ignoring the workmanship and the detail is bad. It's bad buying, And so I was thinking that with this kind of assistance in the selection, that is, ignoring some of the gimmicks, we might be able to get a much more satisfactory and beautiful garment. You think that's true?
Well, we can get a beautiful garment in the cheaper lines which are not finished as beautifully. The fabric will not be as sturdy, it will not wear as well, it will not stand as many washings or cleanings as the case may be. But if the woman wants fashion and she cannot afford to go out and spend an awful lot of money on her new wardrobe because styles change so often, that I think that maybe she should buy a less expensive garment even though it's not made quite as well.
Yes, and that way she can get something which is fashionable. Judy, here's a quick question. I'm skipping ahead just a bit. But would you tell us if it's really true that drawstrings are going to be worn not around the waist, but around the knees this year?
Well, it came out in the fashion shows in Paris. The dresses that come down and similar to the balloon style we've had, except this is a distinct drawstring around the legs.
This is around the legs.
Yes.
Judy, one of our announcers commented the other day after taking a look at the new Empire line in your fashion book that to build an empire, you should have a good foundation. I wonder if he isn't righter than he might think. What's your reaction to that comment?
Well, he certainly hit the nail on the head. Foundations are going to have to change with the styles of the clothing. For the empire look, the women need a foundation garment that will come up right under the bust line to give them one complete straight line. Also, slips and petticoats are changing to fit with the fashions. No woman would want a tight-fitting slip if her garment is going to be loose-fitting. And the petticoats and slips are now being made with the trapeze back, with the chemise look, with the sack look, and the empire look. So we've got to start from inside and go completely out with the new fashions.
Mrs. Judy Walcoff, I'd like to tell you what a pleasure it has been for us to chat with you today on our morning feature.
Thank
We'd
you.
like to invite you, Judy, to come back and chat with us some more about fashions for fall. Now, this is Emma Sue Phelps with a wish for a wonderful day for you.